All right, I just wanted to get a little bit of noise out there. Let me shut this off just so we can talk about what we're doing here. So that is my LTD Viper 10, and we have talked about that in the past and how it just didn't really vibe with me. I wasn't really feeling it. And as I was coming around and doing more work on some of my guitars recently, it occurred to me I've had this for a couple of years, and because I didn't feel it, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. So we're going to put this on the bench, give it a little TLC, not an entire setup, and I'll explain why over on the bench, and just see what we're looking at there. So bear with me. Let's head over to the bench. We're going to do this in two parts. We're going to assess what's going on with the guitar as is, and then we're going to do a partial train and fix what I can, what I do have the tools for. And again, I'll go over more of it, but mainly put a new set of strings on. This even hasn't even had a new set of strings. I don't know what this comes with stock. It could be shop strings, it could be Ernie balls, it could be anything. I know it's not the Dario because of the ball ends, and that's what I'm going to throw on it. So come with me, meet me over at the bench, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're at the bench. Just to reiterate what we're going to go over, because I never really gave this guitar a chance. It needs a little love, especially in some areas up here. I want to get these strings off. They need to be replaced for one. For two, I did off camera compare this to, I looked it up online, the specs, but I also compared it to a guitar that I know has 10s on it. So I made sure to get my preferred strings, Diodario XS 10 to 46. And we're going to be putting those on after we inspect some other stuff. But after I take some measurements and everything, uh, and see where it's at currently, that's when I'm going to take the strings off and start making some adjustments. And I've got all my tools here, but I figured we'd probably split this into two parts. I don't know if I'm going to get to any setup or any cleanup just now, because I do want to check where the relief and where the action is at as it sits. So let's go to the overhead, and I'll move you guys around as needed. Wow, light really. This thing is a fingerprint magnet too, so I'm going to have to really keep up on dusting it once I get it the way I like it. So first things first, it is in tune. I know that because I just played it. I wanted to hear it as is and play it as is just to remember in my head what this felt like. So I got to make sure that we've got the right scale length here. All right. And normally I would stand this up, but I don't have a whole lot of room in here. Let me shine a little light behind that so I can see what I'm getting at. Look out, Santa. Neck actually feels pretty dead straight. Looks pretty dead straight. If there's a relief, if there's any relief, it's just a whisper. So we'll see what that looks like after I take the strings off, because that's probably going to release some of the tension. Put that back over there. And then I did want to see where the action was at the 12th on the high E and the low E. And I'm going to then rock the frets after we get the strings off too. But I'm going to be using my Fret Guru XT, which I did win in just an online Instagram contest, which was kind of nice because I had a really generic fret rocker, and this has the string height gauges. You can do pickup height, everything else with it. I'd have to look at the video again. Yeah, fret height, fret wear depth. You can even uh, check the height of your frets to see whether they're jumbo, medium, or if they're just completely worn down. I don't know that I'm going to be doing anything with that just yet. So I would love to share the camera with you, show you where I'm getting everything. I just don't have the equipment to do it, so bear with me. So at the 12th fret, I'm going to borrow Ted's trick because we want to look at the bottom of the string. We're going to bounce the string a little bit. And I'm going to take my glasses off because even with the white print on there. Pardon the light if this gets in your face. So at the 12th fret, I'm going to say bottom of the string is at 0.1. That's not bad at all. 12th fret for the high E. Appears to be, I need to get myself a headlamp, don't I? Appears to be 0.9, so they're not all that different across the strings. When we get to the point of taking this apart, I'll have to get my radius gauges out and see if we can tell for sure that this is, I think this is advertised as a 12-inch radius neck. Fairly common for relatively inexpensive guitars. I'm going to put away the relief ruler so I don't relic my guitar. And then I think then, so we've got the action, we got the relief, or the tuning relief, action. Intonation I'm not going to worry about because this is getting new strings on it. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to go too crazy on this for two reasons. Number one, if there are any high frets or anything like that, I don't have the proper tools to do that with yet. So that's something that's going to wait till I get down the road. Worst case scenario, I set the action and the relief to compensate for anything here, just to make sure I'm not fretting out or buzzing, so I can just get a feel for how it plays after we do this. If I all of a sudden discover that, hey, I actually do like this guitar, I have a few plans, and we'll discuss those as we go along. So let me loosen a few strings. Just a little bit. I want to make sure that my bridge up there does not fall onto the surface. So I'm just going to put a paper towel under there. I'm going to try and loosen it enough that I can take that forward and get it out of the way and put it on the work mat. There we go. And we'll see what we can do here. This is actually only a couple minutes after I was playing, but you'll notice I'm wearing a sweatshirt. That's because my bench sits much closer to the door, and we are dealing with some pretty awful wind chills. So it gets just a little chilly over here. I want to make sure that I'm in good shape to not shiver and shake while I'm trying to do anything here. The other good thing about destraining this is I can check these tuners. I wanted to see for sure what kind of ratio they are. And I've got a toothpick or something that I can put in there and check. And I also want to see if they're wiggly, loose. Nope, we still got plenty of tension on there. Not enough to loosen the bridge. Should probably show you guys what I'm doing there. It does not want to go anywhere. Which string is tight enough still. Loosen that a little more. And then we'll see where we're at, because I want to get these strings off of here and just start inspecting a few things. Ultimately, what I do with this guitar is up to me because it's mine, but I truly value the community's input, and I want to get a few ideas. And to be fair, every other guitar I've had has had string through, and I haven't had this type of bridge, so this is new to me, so bear with me. I have a D'Addario string winder, mainly just for the cutter. Let's take them off near the pickups. I might have to invest in string nippers down the road. But yeah, I learned a little bit from the Supro project is that take stock of everything you need before you start a project, or don't start it, which is, again, why we're not doing any fretwork. I'm going to be saving up for stuff on my wish list, which includes a leveling beam. I think, oh, geez, yeah, that is definitely a plastic nut as I'm feeling that. And I don't know that you guys can see that. If I get the strings off and the bridge off, I will. There's the bridge. You know which side's there. Let's get our strings out of there. So yeah, it's a radiused bridge. Good thing to know, because this is something that I'm thinking about replacing if I do decide that I like this guitar much better when we're done with it. That is not good. That's really wiggly. One is, now they're both kind of wiggly. They're just not tight. That's why. Okay. Now that they're tight, they're good. That's a little loose. KD1, have no idea what that means. These posts are a little wiggly, but I don't know if there's much of anything I can do about that. If anybody has any thoughts, is that something that you can wrap some of the uh, shielding copper or metal tape around it before you screw it back in to see if that helps? Or with this strung up, is this a problem at all? Is it anything I need to worry about? I'd like to know. So that's the bridge. I'm going to set those out of the way over here so I don't accidentally relic my guitar. I am going to get these strings off of here. I'll keep talking, but I'm probably going to cut this for time. So let me get this off of here and I'll show you. This is something I learned from Ted and from John and from a couple other people online just watching. Plastic nut, when you cut it, gets this feels really rough, and that is one thing that is probably biting at the strings, besides the strings not being terrific, which is probably causing a little bit of tuning instability for me. Whether it's cut the right height or not, that remains to be seen. That's going to be an adventure for the future when I do make some other changes, because I don't want to go whole hog cutting a nut when I plan on replacing bridge hardware and tuners down the road. If I do end up liking this, I plan. Oh, those tuners are really loose as well. That could be just needing to be snugged up there. So we'll do that quick. But they are wiggly. Well, a couple of them are wiggly. They are sealed tuners. They are branded. Let's get a little dust off of here while we've got everything open. They are branded as LTD. So they are LTD branded sealed tuners. It's a made in China guitar, so I have no idea what that means. If it's just a branding and these are Chinese made tuners, I'd be willing to bet. You can see it, even the nut grabbed a piece of hair from the little duster, but right along the top, I don't know if you can see that very well, especially right there. There's a big chunk of plastic. So before I string this back up, I'm at the very least going to take some fine grit sandpaper or maybe a piece of string and try and work that out, because I really don't want to cut the nut any differently than it is. The other thing I can feel now that the strings are off, this board is extremely dry and extremely rough. The frets, on the other hand, are very nicely polished. They don't feel gritty at all. I will probably clean them off as I go along and clean off the board just to wipe them down. If anything, it's a little dust on there. There are a couple frets that could be addressed for sharpness, but again, that's going to be when I get myself a fret file. That's another thing. So fret file, leveling beam, and I do have a set of nut files, not expensive ones, but much better than what I was working with. I would have been better off working with strings on that Supro. So that's where we are with the bridge hardware and everything. I just want to check the neck relief again with the strings off. Can't imagine it's going to be too much different. Yeah, I'm not seeing any relief at all. Stand it up now that I've got it off, and we'll look at it through the light. Yeah, it's not rocking from side to side, so there's no bow the other way, so it didn't do that, and there doesn't seem to be any relief. So we'll have to see what it's like when we string it back up again, which is probably going to be part 2 or 3, depending on how long this takes me to walk through. So conditioning the neck, cleaning the neck is something I'm going to do. I do want to assess the rest of the hardware with you guys, and that's probably going to be it for the video tonight, but I am going to try and tighten up those tuners that feel loose. See if we can get that a little more snug. That always does it. So shout out, Snug. I really liked your song the other day. I will link that below just so you guys can go enjoy it. Snug's an interesting guy, and he wrote some really interesting lyrics and melody, and then with the cooperation of Suno, turned it into an interesting song about cryptids. Okay, that was just my hammer moving. I thought the phone was about to go on me. That would have made for an interesting video. So, all right, the tuners are actually nice and tight now. Of course, they're still a little wiggly in the sockets, but not here. So I don't know what can be done about that. If anybody has any ideas on that, other than replacing them. So like I said, if I do go and get this operating the way I want to, I'm gonna black everything out. Everything that's silver, including the strap locks, just not the neck plate, because that's kind of a peculiar neck plate. I would probably have to custom cut something in black or find a way to spray paint this, but I'm fine with a chrome back plate and everything else black, because you don't see that from the front. But I'd like to get black knobs, black bridge hardware, which I will have to measure. I'm going to be careful not to move these too much. I don't know where we're at with the action until we get the new strings on. Pickups. I am probably going to pop these up and see what's going on in there. I looked these up. These are ceramic pickups, and why don't we take a couple measurements while we're here? So we got the volume all the way up. Yeah, that pot feels a little weird too. Let's turn it to 20K. So the bridge sitting just under 14. Neck is 9. Sorry, 9. Bridge is hovering just around 14, just under 13 point. Let's call it 13.75, just to round up a little bit. And then the middle, we have 5.56. That sounds about right. There is no coil split on this. I don't plan to install that because I don't think I'm up for that task yet. And honestly, I don't use coil split that much, so I don't think I want to aggravate myself trying to do that. Except on guitars that already have it if I have to rewire anything. All right, let's turn this off. And actually, before I take the pickups out of their cavity, let's do something a little simpler and look at the electronics in back. So the back of the neck, I don't think I'm going to have to. All right, I have my screwdriver here. Let's get the back. I kind of like the fact that this electronics compartment has an almost coffin-shaped, what seems to be my favorite tool on the bench. Just get in the screw holes to pull that up without scratching everything. So the back of it looks to be shielded. That's good. And what we do have in there is a fair amount of dust in the cavity. Two, I don't know if we can get you in there to see properly. 2 dime-sized pots. A pretty standard switch. The switch itself feels good. It's not too stiff, but it's not loose. You really have to try and click it, so the switch will probably stay. If I decide to black out all the hardware, I might black out the knobs because that tone knob feels a little, oh, I see what's going on there. That tone knob is moving the wires. Well, that's not good either. So yeah, I'll have to take that button off and tighten up the nut on the top to prevent that tone knob from moving. Well, that's one problem that we can fix easily. If this little guy is going to be enough to loosen this knob up. Move you over here so you can see what I'm doing. I just want to take this knob off and then line it up on the back. So the nut, there we go. Oh, they've got a little spacer on it, but I don't need to take that off. Put the knob down here quick. That white spacer, I'm not familiar with that. I think there's probably splines underneath there. Might be handy if I have to do something else with the knobs down the road. Let's try and get that pointing the way it should be. I'm going to say right there. And I'm going to get my octopus out and see if we can't tighten. There we go. That was nice and loose. Oh, look at that. It feels actually like a normal tone knob now without it flitting around and doing things. Glad I didn't play with that too much. That could have eventually ripped something off of a pot. which I do plan on soldering again. So I cannot tell. I'm going to loosen those pots up, clear this cavity out, and just vacuum that out. That's gross in there. But you know what? It's a $200 guitar. So again, that's, I hate to say expected, but when you buy a budget guitar, there's going to be some stuff that needs a little work. But just with 14K and 9K, I don't know if I want to get something a little more aggressive, or if I just want to get similar, but El Nico 5 maybe, to see if it mellows it out a little bit. I don't know if you heard in the plane sample, it sounded a little rough, but again, that's a bridge I'll cross if I decide that I want to completely mod this guitar and keep it. Otherwise, we're just going to condition everything, put it back to stock, and then we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or if I would sell it, but it'll be easier to sell if it's been gone over and made sure that everything's up to snuff. I take that back. The last thing I'm going to show you the pickups. This one has always rocked like this. It also feels way low on this side compared to that. I'm going to have to get the ruler on the Fret Guru XT out and look up some specs about, when I string it back up, what height these should be sitting at. I'm just wondering if it was somebody just in a hurry when they put this in. I think I'm going to have to take the ring off, aren't I? That's fine. We'll see what's under there. Like I said, I've got that shop magnet to find parts when I inevitably drop them, but you know what I'm going to also add to my shopping list is a parts holder that I can keep on the bench to throw the screws in. It's still in the bottom of the pickup. So let's see what we've got there. Ooh, wow. A lot of polishing compound. So again, things I'm going to do. I'm beginning to wonder if that spring that just flew was not sitting on the pickup properly. I'm going to double check how this one is sitting in there and see if we can't get that screw out. And this is something I'll put back together without you guys too, because not terribly exciting to watch the reassembly once we've taken things apart. Springs, pickup ring, screw. I think I'm also going to vacuum out and clean out those pockets. So a couple things. One, there is not a lot of wiggle room with these wires. So I can't do anything to take them out. Number two, I noticed that the wrapping around it was coming off on some places. Is that something that you would use a little glue of any sort for? Guys, please comment. Just because I'm not sure what I would want to try and reattach that with, but I know that it peeling up is probably not a good thing. And I'm not going to take this apart to look at the magnets, but I do trust that these are ceramic based on the specs that I saw online. This one's probably going to look pretty much the same. I won't bore you with taking it out. In the next video, if I find anything terribly interesting in there, I'll take photos and share it with you while we're doing the actual setup for everything. So the last thing we want to do tonight, we're just going to double check some of these frets with the fret rocker. Yeah, there's already a little rocking. I will definitely check the relief again and go over this again before I do anything. It's not huge, but it's enough to make noise, so that might explain a little bit. I wasn't getting any string buzz on it. That's pretty solid. I'll have to check. Maybe there might be one that's low. No, that'd be two that were low. So if this one sits fine, a little bit high there. I'm not going to mark them right now because, again, like I said, there's nothing I can do with it with the equipment I have right now. So we'll probably come back, string it up, see how bad things are, and address it when I have the tools. And again, with some of the fret sprout that I've noticed too, I'm beginning to wonder if possibly just tapping these a little bit might remediate it for the most part. It's almost like every other one. As we get further up the neck, it seems better. Nothing going on there. Yeah, there's a little rock right there. The 11th fret, actually pretty decent rock. But again, like I said, I'll double check the relief to make sure, because I don't want to start anything with frets without making sure I've got a dead flat neck. It could also be that they ramped these down from the 12th. So if I find that these are fine, like I said, stuff that could be remediated with relief as well. At least I think it can, because that's what I've gotten from watching some of you guys. Yeah, this one's rocking a little bit too. So we've got a few wonky frets out of 24. That's pretty solid. I know this is stuff that you guys usually speed up. I have not quite mastered that yet, and I think that's going to be something that waits till I upgrade my PC, because yeah, that's rocking pretty good too. No, you're not going to pick it up because I've got a noise filter on my mic, but you can see my hand moving back and forth. That's a pretty good. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if any tap 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 takes care of things for me. Overall, it's not terrible compared to the cheap Spectrum Strat that I was working on. That had a few frets that were a little more egregious than this. Yeah, a little bit there, and then the last ones. So those are things we'll address after we condition the fretboard, double check the relief one more time to make sure it's flat. I'm going to let this sit for a couple days like it is after I condition it, or actually before I condition it, because I'm just doing this tonight. We're going to get a short video up for this Sunday. We'll condition everything. We'll recheck the relief when it's been sitting unstrung for a while, give it some time to check that, and then we'll see if there's anything else that we can do with this, like maybe tap a couple of the frets just to see some of the ones that are really high, to see if we can tap them and get it a little bit less. And I'll string it back up. We'll check for any fret buzz, any choke out, although the way I play it, it's not going to matter too much. And try and get the action maybe a little lower, but I have a feeling without being able to do anything with the frets, I'm probably better off leaving it where it was. All right, and then I guess the only other thing I was going to do was take a look in the truss rod cavity, because with all that polishing compound, I'm wondering, yep, it is all over the truss rod cavity too. I'll show you guys the truss rod cavity. It's a lot of, I'm assuming, polishing compound in there. I don't think that's sawdust or anything. I'm probably going to put this back together just for now, because I don't want to lose anything while we've got visitors over. But I will take it back to this state before the next part, so you guys don't have to watch me take things apart again. So with that, so by the time you see this, it'll be Sunday, not quite Christmas. The next time we talk to each other after this video, it'll be after Christmas. I hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas, or just visiting with family if you don't celebrate any other holidays around this time, if that is what you do. I hope everybody has a fantastic time. I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is healthy. And I just want to thank everybody for coming along again. And we're going to come back and do a little more work on this guy. Thanks.